I truly believe that we are facing an era of brands, communities, and I think they're going to be even stronger than countries. I think people needs leadership.
Because it's in the digital space, you're kind of hiding your insecurities and you're able to portray a sense of maybe something that you're not.
Most of Web3 these days is a big scam. We can see in the political side of the entire globe and in the commercial space lack of leadership.
I genuinely believe in love. I think most people just want peace and love and somebody to love them back.
I think that we're heading in a good direction, and I think a lot of the wars that we see around us, political and commercial, are because the change is coming.
This is the Mooncast.
See you, Space Cowboy.
Oh,
What time
good
is it over
man.
there?
It's 4:30 afternoon.
4:30. Oh, okay. Are you enjoying a little bit of the sun or?
Yeah. We got, Israel, no matter what you can say about it, has perfect weather.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. Thank you so much for coming on to the Mooncast, man. I appreciate you. And if you could, can you a little bit introduce yourself to the audience? Let them know a little bit about some of the experiences that you have in the Web3 space and what you're currently working on now.
Sure. So, first of all, thank you for having me. So, I'm Elad, and for the last 7 years, I'm operating as a CMO as a service. I'm creating go-to-market plans and then embedding them in the activity of the company as a CMO as a service. I became familiar with Web3 about 3 years ago with the NFT and metaverse bubble when I was working with Tectona, which is a big company in Israel operating in the blockchain space. And then I had the opportunity of working with all kind of startups if in the metaverse and the connection between physical and digital assets. And while my focus is on user persona and creating actionable profiles, when I've seen what's going on the Web3, I was really fascinating about the community and the use of NFT and what actually is a community. And that's after a long time that I was operating with Facebook and Instagram, and just to acknowledge that a real community is something different. And so for the last 2.5 years, I'm trying to investigate what does it mean having a community, and not only in Web3. I've tried to take a lot of the insights into the Web2 as well, and really trying to create what is the structure of a community, in order to really have them locked in and active. So that's about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, really interesting your journey. And I remember I joked with you before when we talked about the CMO as a service. And I thought it's like one of the greatest hustles ever. but
Well, and as I said, another thing that I really thought about, because I think everybody going to be as a service in the future, but what really made me understand that I should think differently about stuff in Web3, it's even the CMO position, and for that matter, any position. Like, isn't it weird that most of the marketing managers are not coming from inside the community. Like even a junior marketing manager that been operated very actively in a community for 2 years, really passionate about the product, is going to be much better at his job than a very talented and experienced CMO that never even heard about the product before they approached him. And it made me understand that when we're looking about the community, until now, looking at the community was actually a cynical point of view of marketeers that trying to save money,
Yeah.
and looking at the community as a communication channel that doesn't cost any money because you can just write any post and they would see you. And that's false, because basically it means that most of the money would go to Facebook and Zuckerberg and Google and stuff like that. And you're actually taking out money from the marketing circle. And for that matter, it seems that most of the brands are working that way in every space, like recruiting, bringing people outside of the community, and even paying for the service of bringing new people. Why shouldn't we use the marketing budget to make the community happy? And why wouldn't we, in affiliation strategy and stuff like that, um, pay the community? In a sense, um, I find it really, really strange that it makes so much sense saying that your next marketing manager should come from your community, but it rarely happens.
Yeah.
Um,
What do
so
you think that is?
I think that I think that, to be honest, I think Facebook and Google ruined the marketing position. I think uh, there's a very basic stage of understanding your audience and reaching out for them and understanding them and loving them, even that Facebook and Google deleted that stage. You can just target anyone by saying his interests and stuff like that. And in order to create a real community, and think about what is a community, like people that know each other and they have a common goal and values, and they can help each other to achieve the values, the aspirations and stuff like that. So without that, um, in order to create that, you really need to understand your audience. So I think, in a sense, like Tinder is making it so easy to meet people. Um, Something is lost, and actually love taking a step back. So in that regard, I think that love in the branding and marketing space has taken a step back, and I truly think that love is missing in that process. I'm not cynical about marketing. I love marketing, and I think we as marketeers have an important role. I just think that without love, um, it can really go bad, and it could really be just about the money. Um,
Hasn't that how it's always been? Just about the money?
I don't see that. I wouldn't be able to That's why you said that CMO as a service is a great hassle,
Yeah.
because I think most of the people look at marketing. Everybody knows that you need a marketeer. Nobody want to do that. A lot of clients come and just take it away from me. I don't want to do that, and I even think that it's not possible. Like that's another pay-per-click point of view, because until a few years, you didn't need any strategy. All you needed was a good campaigner giving you a good ROI, and that's it. Um, But right now, the PPC is becoming less and less effective, and we as marketers needs to be much more creative. And I truly think that the next revolution is going to be community. And I think marketing is here to make talented people reachable and helping them, fulfill themselves. Maybe I'm a bit too hippie, but that's what I think marketing is all about. Um, so I think that in order to have a community, you need to be a leader. And I've learned criminal profiling, um, because I wanted to have a few more tools of profiling, and I'm using a lot of those tools, comparing user persona and serial killers and a community as a cult. And when you look at cults, you understand that you must have a leader that is approachable, and he has values, and he's inviting his followers to, and put aside that most of the cults are bullshit and all about the leader loving himself, but the promise of helping you fulfill yourself and reaching new even spiritual steps and development, self-development stages. I really think that this is what any brand should aspire to. Um, we buy Nike, and you can see that there's no commercial that tells you about the materials of the shoe. It's all
Yeah.
about the value. If you'll buy Nike, you would have more motivation to wake up at 5 a.m. If you buy Apple, you might, demand more of yourself for this aesthetics of your products and whatever. It's about helping you define yourself, because we humans are obsessed with defining ourselves. And if there's no leadership in a brand, so it's just a money machine. And I don't think we're gonna see a lot of those in the future, because there's something really special about digital that really, it cuts through the bullshit. And you can see all those platforms that working on crowd, you know, uh, uh, knowledge of like who's recommending, etc. And if you're an asshole, so the community would show that. Um, I really love using the example of Fight Club. Have you seen the movie Fight Club?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So so we used to had like creating a community in order to sell our product and not paying for the pay-per-click channels. And I think that the movement and Web3 definitely is in the head of this movement. We can see products that are being created in order to be the glue of the community. So it's not about the product, it's about the community. And when you look at Fight Club, so you have like, again, a charismatic leader, and of course they meet every Friday to beat each other up as entertainment and the spiritual, personal progress and stuff like that. And they all have a common goal, which is the doomsday, like changing the perspective of humanity about capitalism and but the product is soap. I mean, the first time we see Tyler Durden is him in the plane with a bag of soaps. That is the product, and the gap between the product and the common goal of the community, and even the jump from a soap that all the values of the brand is performed in that soap. Like they are stealing fat from the rich ladies, whatever, how they create that soap. And when they sell this soap, that what create the budget of the community to do all the other stuff. So once you have this product, what is the meetings on Friday should look like? And the jump of understanding the community, understanding the people that would buy that soap and to take part in it, are the people that gonna meet on Friday and they gonna have use violence and stuff like that in order to challenge themselves and entertain themselves and then you have the common goal. So I think every brand should ask themselves, if my product is just what I'm doing right now, and I'm working mostly with startups, so every startup knows that once it gets funded, once you have $1 million, your product is gonna completely change. You're gonna have so many pivots, and you're gonna do something completely different. And if you don't have values, and if you don't have a clear vision of the future and what is it that you want to create, that's when you see startups stuck. They get funded, and all they have is a few features, and with that funding they create the perfect product. They create like the best features, and that's it. It stops being a startup, and it becomes just a business, a product. When the startup is actually a work in progress of a vision, and if you have your vision is strong enough, a lighthouse, doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter if you got funded. It doesn't matter if you have like a competitor or the environment changed. You are not making the product. You are going to your vision, and right now you're creating this product because that's the best thing to do at this moment, to reach that vision. So
Did you know that smart contract developers make around $120,000 per year? We are building the biggest Web3 talent pool in Africa, linking you to companies looking to outsource cheaper labor. Find out and join us at helico.xyz. And as always, see you, Space Cowboy.
when I'm looking at Web3, and I'm looking at NFTs as definitely not as pictures that worth buying. Although I do believe art gonna have some kind of a renaissance using that. But in the commercial branding world, I see it as a VIP members card. And if I have a community, it seems that every community must have hierarchy. We as humans must have somebody above us and somebody below us in order to inspire us to stay active. And NFTs really can help creating that. And even when you look at artists, I think it's going to change so much. And I think we in the commercial space can learn a lot of that, because right now, if you're a musician, you are creating your art and you're trying to sell it. And most of the time you have the core of your community, like you have a few dozens of followers that really loves what you do, and they follow you everywhere. And right now you're just taking their money, and you don't have a lot to give them back in order to expand. And now NFTs allowing you to, doesn't matter if you're a musician that can sell his tickets or his songs, or a painter with his paint things and everything, you can give it freely. And then they would go ahead and then you created an opportunity. And it seems like the triangle of a community is opportunity, entertainment, and self. Uh, 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 yeah.
Belonging.
Like not only belonging, it's the like getting better as a person or as
Self
a
development.
exactly, and a common goal. Once you have these three steps in your community, it would be easier to create the hierarchy. You would have the VIP members, and you would have like the parliament, and you would have the followers. Um, so I truly believe that we are facing an era of uh, brands, communities, and I think they're going to be even stronger than countries. And you can see Elon Musk for an example. He's strong as the president of the United States, um, and you can see like even when you look about um, Ukraine, like the fight with Russia, and Facebook helped the employees that live in Ukraine. So you as a brand have responsibility to your employees, and soon enough it's going to be responsibility to your clients as well. So it's really a community of brands. I believe would get stronger and stronger, and I think Web3 and the possibilities of blockchain and money transfer, and you know it's going to change a lot.
When you mentioned something in regards to leadership, and I wanted to ask you how how imperative is it to have somebody at the head of the snake to be able to facilitate that feeling that's needed to drive the community engagement?
So lately, I've started to believe that it's a must. Um, Even, we can see it in politics. The need for a leader, and sometimes people are looking at the persona of the leader much more than what is the leader actually saying or doing, or the party that he stands in front of. We choose people, um, and I think that I think a very big problem in the Web3 space is, you have a lot of projects with no face. You get some silly picture or AI generated avatar that is the head of the project. And, that's the first red flag for me when I'm looking at any brand that there's no somebody behind it. And these days, I would even say I want to see videos. Although, some would say that with AI today, even if I see a video, it might be an AI generated. But I wanna know who stands behind it. And when I'm gonna choose between competitors of the same product, I'm gonna choose by the values.
Yeah.
Like I'm giving a lot of times the example of dog's food. I have a dog, and beside that, understanding that dog food is a pretty new invention of like 40 or 50 years, and it's pretty bad, but now I need to choose the food for my dog, and it's all pretty shitty. And I need to choose, and everybody says that they have the best, the best food. Um, I would prefer the food that takes my money and giving it additional value. Like I would love to see the CEO of a company of a dog food company, tell me why is it that he's doing what he's doing and how he helps dogs around the world. And I would want to buy an NFT that allows me to enter a specific place in the website and see content that only I can see, how my money is actually saving dogs, and walking the talk, uh, really saying what are the values and how they really reach it. And when you look about, Apple and Steve Jobs, and you look at Tesla and Elon Musk, and so many examples that the big enterprises have a certain person in front of the company, um, and he is usually an inspiration. Now, I'm putting aside, we can all be cynical and judge those people, or find a certain a persona that was revealed as a scam, or whatever. But if we're really understanding the value of brands, what is the value that brands are providing humanity, and therefore why are they still existing? Um, it's actually values. Um, and I think people need leadership. And so if you ask me, if you are a head of a product and a brand, and you feel uncomfortable of standing in as the face of your company, having a lot of meetings and webinars, and explaining your vision, and being with all the courage that being a leader means, telling what is the future that you see and how you operate, and probably saying stuff that some people wouldn't love to hear, because that means being a leader. You're not saying, you're not a politician. You're not trying to tell them exactly what they want to hear. And that's I feel like all over the world we have a leadership, a lack of leadership, and too much politicians. Um, so, if you're an entrepreneur listening to me, especially in Web3, because I think there's no mercy over there, it's a much smarter and experienced audience. Um, if you're operating, and if you have a venture, a startup, that means you really think you're going to change the world. You really think that you can do things differently, and that you can see the future clearly. And therefore I would expect you to put yourself on front, and be very, very clear on your values, and walk the talk. If your values are saving the planet, so let's see how exactly you're using your budget, your marketing budget, your everything, to do the real company shit, and not creating shitty quotes of Facebook posts of Einstein, and stuff like that. We've all seen the mayor coming, for Photoshop a shoot, like doing like he's going to paint the hospital, and having the clicks of the camera and then leaving. So I believe, paint the goddamn hospital, and and you would have a smaller amount of people understanding who you are, but it would be much more like a cult. The circle would be bigger and bigger, and the followers would really trust their leader, and grow. And a real leader can create a mid-level management. So it's not, and I don't think that a startup can, like, you have giants today like Coca-Cola, and you know they have so much budget to put a logo everywhere that it has a life of its own. So I'm not saying that it's impossible to succeed without that persona, but if you're a startup, if you just got funded, or even no funding at all, bootstrapping completely, I would use leadership as a very strong competitive advantage because we lack of leadership right now.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's global too. It's not geospecific. The leadership is, I think, what's missing on this planet, and love, because you mentioned love, and I think we're slowly headed towards a phase where we're slowly separating the human aspect of who we are to the digital, and we're projecting a bit of our humanity through the digital. And
Mhm.
because it's in the digital space, you're kind of hiding your insecurities, and you're able to portray a sense of maybe something that you're not in a digital space. And so you're able to sell people dreams easier, right? Where it's much harder to do that if me and you were meeting in person and I'm looking you straight in the eyes and I'm trying to sell you, let's say, poop from the toilet, and you're looking at me like, what are you talking about? Am I gonna buy this? You know, like, are you trying to BS me? You know, but it's much easier to hide that this is a shit product, you know, for lack of a better term, through this digital lens that I think a lot of people are looking at, and it's not really reality. So reality is being a little bit distorted. So my question to you is, on the love aspect, how how can founders handle their marketing campaigns more with love and appreciation for people, and actually trying to convey a message that's actually going to represent their actual product and their vision and what they're actually trying to achieve? And if what they're trying to achieve is actually good, how can they emphasize that feeling? Or is that just something natural that you have to have as a founder? And if you don't have it, then does that mean that you then, even though you had the vision, need to replace yourself with somebody else as the face? Do you think that that's a potential strategy too as well? How do you view that?
Well, I would say that you must love your clients. Otherwise, you're just an asshole trying to make money. And I'm not saying you wouldn't succeed because there are some, but it would even be harder. Like, I truly believe that love is the best capitalist strategy for marketing. Okay, I'm not trying to be hippie. I'm saying that in today's marketing space, the technology allows us to really create a lot of mindfucks. We have
Yeah,
cookies, and we can trace and target, and we can really do crazy stuff. And if you're not really using all these tools to reach specific people and make them as happy as you can, then you're an asshole, and they're gonna find out about it. Now, what is being, love a person? Like, there's the circle of interests, right? I want to sell my product. The customer want to buy it. That's the circle of interests. But once I want to know and understand and help a person beside my personal interests, love starts, right? Even with friends, you got friendships that based on interest, and you got a friendship that based on love. Um, so I really think that a good marketing, especially if you're heading to a community, because nobody gives an F about the Fight Club soap, even though they all use it because they need to buy and sell it in order to make the community whatever. And if they have to use soap, they prefer to use soap that's been stealing the fat out of ladies, and later on that fat would become the dynamite for the explosions in doomsday. So the product is really, really important, but it's here only as a part from a very bigger picture. And in order to have that jump from that product into the entertainment phase and into the self progress and into the common goal, you must understand and know your audience, and you must understand and know them outside of the interest circle, and that's what love is all about. If I'm selling dog's food, now I can talk about my product all day long, how healthy it is, and all the minerals inside, and stuff like that. But everybody gonna say the same. So I don't really know which food should I buy for my dog. But there's dog owners that having a really hard time training the dog, and there's people that believe that dogs are a part of mental health care, and there are people that the dog for them are, I don't know, they're going to events and all those competitions and stuff like that. And once you go bigger and bigger in the circles outside of the interest, you can talk directly to them. And you can find yourself talking about being lonely and giving tips of meditation and talking about depression and stuff like that, because you've understood that a segment inside of your audience is having dogs because they feel lonely, because for them dogs are part of a bigger picture. And once you start taking care of that persona in your audience and creating content and events and whatever around this subject, you're starting to love them, because you're going to talk about mental health care with dogs. Dogs would always be a part of that, space of yours. But you can see the bigger picture. So if you understand that it's loneliness and mental care, that at least 30% of your audience that is interest, you're gonna make create events that people would know each other, and you would start creating actions that help your audience in other pains and needs beside what exactly which dog food would I buy. Um, okay, so loving your audience is more than just not being an asshole. And for me, as an entrepreneur, as a CMO as a service, it's all about love. It's all about that passion of creating stuff, and creating stuff. We're doing it for other people to enjoy. We're not doing it only to be happy that the website is on and stuff like that. We're doing it because we want other people to be happy, and we want to earn money. We want to earn well by doing good. That's like, for me, that is the goal: earning well by doing good. So
Wouldn't you say that's the exact opposite of how most people in the approach of, let's say, big corps kind of take it? It's more earning money and not really caring about the well-being of the citizen, and it seems to be working because they keep profiting, right?
well, I would say that you can operate like that only if you're big, and that is the one of the big dangers of becoming too big. And I don't want to sound too hippie, like, only kumbaya. It is really hard to succeed and scale and being an enterprise and still thinking about uh, love more than ROI. But again, I'm going back to your last question. I think that the leadership of a company, if it builds on the lighthouse of love, of making a good and positive impact, it would remain once the business would be scaling into enterprise. I think that we see a lot of remains of the old business that can afford themselves acting that way. I think in the digital era, we're going to see less and less assholes. Again, assholes with a lot of money can trick us and do all kind of mind fucks on us, but they would have to pay a lot of money to hide their lack of love. And even in a sense, marketing is used today in order to cover on the lack of good products. Like if your product is lousy, you're gonna put a lot of budget on marketing
Yeah.
because you need to make it look like it's really good. And if you're operating on love, you would make the best product. And even if your product is not perfect yet, you would always try to make it the most valuable it can be for your customers. And even, you know, again, I'm mostly working with startups after you know, seed round or round A or some round B, and that's still the beginning of the road. So love would help you stay in touch with your customers, and when you're thinking about the next feature, it would help you understand what is it you need to do, and not making decision out of a meeting room of a bunch of tech people. um, I I can totally see the problems in today's the business space, and but I'm optimistic in my nature. And 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 even when you look at Web3, and I think we must be honest about it, most of Web3 these days is a big scam. you,
Yeah.
you have like 25%, and some would say, again, I'm very optimistic,
Yeah. I was
let's say
like,
it's let's say it's 20% good. And again, for me, even because I can define between a project that didn't succeed but tried to, rather than a project that all along was a scam. So I'm
The entire global north has an aging population, while 70% of Africa is aged 30 and younger. Less humans plus high inflation means that businesses make less money, but it doesn't have to be you. Helicode is your one-stop shop for cheap, affordable, and most importantly, quality Web3 labor. Find out more at helicode.xyz, and as always, see you, Space Cowboy.
I think people are getting smarter, and I think that we're gonna see, once we want to create a community and clients that are really partners. That's what, in a sense, NFTs have the potential to be crowdfunding on steroids, right? Um, so if I want to succeed, I need my client to love my product, be a part of the community, and take part and become some kind of a partner. And I think we're going to be watching a lot of startups rising very, very quickly. And we're going to see some monsters go down if they're not going to change their way into love in that way.
you mentioned something that I found interesting because when I look at the landscape of marketing today, I actually believe I follow the 90-10 rule. I actually think it's 10% product and 90% marketing. And I mean, if you look, there's so many. This is why, like, what made me really open my mind to marketing because there's so many shitty products that just continue getting MRR and they just keep winning. And if you just look at it even on a basic level of one of the oldest products that we've had since Keynesian economics and Adam Smith and all this stuff, all these things came about. So if you look at just tobacco and how harmful it is for your body and how well it sells, because they've been able to enact that feeling into their audience that it's something that is cool, it's something that relieves stress, but in reality it's killing you, right? And so for me, I don't think that there's any product on the planet that somebody who isn't savvy enough to enact and tap into that space, that feeling to make you perceive something can tap into, so that they can make you buy that product even though the product might not be good for you. But I don't know what you think about that specifically, because I find it, I would have to be a little bit ignorant to the fact and the reality of, if there's enough money and there's enough messaging put behind that money to make people perceive something, and then becomes true to them, and it then allows them to want to enact into that said feeling from all that messaging that has been given to them. I mean, if you look at it, even if you break it down to, let's say even, this is maybe even more of a touchy topic, but let's say even being patriotic to one's nation state, right? And pushing a certain messaging to said people to be patriots for a said cause, and that cause may be, if you look at it objectively, may not be the correct cause that you should fight for, but people would already be willing to, because the messaging has been sold to them, that, and put that feeling into them to make them want to be patriots for a cause that may not be suitable for the advancement of society as a whole.
Well, let's separate the two things that you just said. You have things that are absolutely bad, like cigarettes. I mean, we can find anyone, any nation that can explain itself, and we're currently at war here in Israel, and I'm sure that both sides can try and look at certain facts and try to convince. And I would touch that as well. But when you look at cigarettes, it's absolutely bad. And it's not only the messaging. There's like addictive supplements inside that is like pure evil.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm looking at brands as people, as personalities walking out, and me and you, we're affecting our surrounding, our friends, and there are bad people, or like people that are harmful, and they can look like your friends and give you ease like a cigarette can give you, but they are bad for you. Um, so I think we will always see those kind of people. We would always see those kind of brands, and I truly think it's going to be harder and harder. I mean, right now we are at very confusing time when the facts are really tricky, and you don't really know what's true anymore. And you can see a TikTok a video and be convinced that you have all the information you need. So, and even when you look at Cambridge Analytics, the company that used psychology for digital campaigns, like in the most sophisticated way we've seen so far, they said it clearly that one of the tactic is a flood of information that would confuse the the people so much that they would go and choose only by the emotions and stop trying to think about it. So I think we're going to see less and less brands that are lying, because we're going to find regulation and a way to fact check the internet and understand if this product is good or bad, and see comments and
Aren't they
etc.
already doing that? Aren't they doing that with the reviews currently right now? Is that reviews mechanism?
Yeah, yeah, and you see, like Airbnb, you know based on my rating, people are letting me stay at their home.
Yeah.
And there are so many different platforms right now that when you buy at Amazon, all you need to see is that there's 45,000 people already bought from that seller and they're happy. And you trust Amazon to push away all the bots and stuff like that. And I'm sure that the good would prevail. Um, in order in when I'm looking at states, um, again, I'm optimistic, and I'm hoping for peace worldwide. Um, and I think that being patriot has had a better reputation because there's a problem. If you have certain values and you want to spread them, so you must protect your people that really believe in that set of values. And all of a sudden, you have the paradox of you want to sing kumbaya and have no borders, then everybody be together. But in order to get that, you need to, you know, explain what are the borders of your people, and protect them in that fight of spreading love. And can you love while you're holding a weapon? So I think
It's
it's
tough.
really, really. So I can't really get into that too much because I think it's not my place, and I don't want to step on any. I don't not feeling comfortable of representing right now anything. And I can tell you for sure that criticism is well putted in a lot of stuff, and I can definitely see in the last few months the power of false facts going around the world, and I can definitely see that paradox of good people that want to spread love, uh, um, fighting against communities that have the same values. So I can see how it's all very, very complicated. I would just say that we can see in the political side of the entire globe and in the commercial space lack of leadership. And
Yeah.
we can definitely, and once you see that, it's really easy to confuse people. But on the overview, I would say that we as humans are going in the right direction. The amount of violence is not higher and higher. We are becoming one world, united. If you look like thousands and tens of thousands years ago, we were divided much more. Countries today have millions and tens and hundreds of millions of people under the same values. And I think we'll continue seeing that. Um, and in a sense, um, so again, it's not an easy task, but I believe that we are heading there.
Do you
Um,
think do you think that Bitcoin and decentralization is helping to or will help at some point to eradicate a lot of the centralized control? Because I think a lot of the issues when I do look at the geopolitical landscape just in general, I think it's like you said, lack of leadership. And do you think maybe we a way in which we can as humans, because when I travel around the world, right, I see love everywhere. It doesn't matter if I'm in the Middle East or if I'm in the United States or if I'm in Europe, if I'm in Africa. I see humans and I see love, and generally I'm met with nothing but love. Actually, before this interview, I was had a meeting with another guy. They wanted to potentially do business, and when we got done with the meeting, these kids came up and wanted to take a picture with me, and and that seems to be a reoccurring theme. It doesn't even matter where I'm at. I don't know if it's my energy, because even when I'm even when I'm in Africa, this happens to me. So I genuinely believe in love. I think most people just want peace and love and somebody to love them back. I genuinely do believe in that. But how we get there, I think, is where I'm a little bit uncertain. I think Bitcoin can help. I think that's one of these uniformly agreed upon mechanisms that everyone can just hold on to and transact with, and opt out of when they don't believe in, let's say, a tyrannical government or something that a government is doing. Because I do separate state from humans, like, that are living underneath the state, because it's, for me, a completely different mechanism. And I think in terms of the marketing aspect and the messaging, the state can at times program people to think and believe one thing, or to confuse them so that they don't know what to think. But I truly believe the raw core component of a human is love and is compassion. And I think most people want peace. And I do hope that we trend towards that direction. Um, yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I am, the opposite of love is fear, and I think there's a lot of fear out there, and there's a lot of misleading. Um, and I truly hope that we would see, I would say that we really hope to see peace. We really hope to see our people back, and we really hope to see the end of destruction. And um, you know, I think one of the challenges that we face is the fundamentals of a community is really, taking care of your people and leading them into peace. And I think every country that finds, because there's a lot of voices in every country, in every community. Um, Sometimes the road over there is not as simple and clear, but we need leaders that their vision and their lighthouse is leading to love and to peace, and explaining very clearly why their way is leading there. Um, and I think the same in commercial world and in political. We would not tolerate leaders that are not directed into that in all sides. So I truly believe that blockchain is gonna be a very strong player in changing the powers of the world, and I think countries already acknowledge it. I mean, you can see how many Bitcoin countries already bought. You can see how strongly they enter it and how strongly they opposed it in regulations and stuff like that. And I think it's only because they understand it's here to stay, and that it's giving power to the people. And you can see a lot of third world countries that most of the people, or a lot of the people, can't have banking services, suddenly have a bank account for free in a matter of minutes, and that would change a lot of the things. And I think that I think that we as marketeers, and I'm taking the conversation back to marketing and Web3, we must be the guards. And if we see a false project, if we see a false NFT collection of bullshit, we shouldn't take part of it. We should all, call it as it is and understand that they are hurting us. And
Yeah.
if we see a project that really has values and it's really trying, that's what we need to support. Um, so it begins with us.
Yeah.
Um, there's no place to look how can we do some money out of the silly people that entering the space, because we can see it again and again, the so-called so I think that we're heading in a good direction, and I think a lot of the wars that we see around us, political and commercial, are because the change is coming, and there's a lot of questions that we need to ask ourselves. And we as humans, we've reached a certain point that if we really want, nobody would be hungry.
Yeah.
If we
Easily.
really want, so we break the code. We did it, and now the question is, what is the purpose of all this? And I think this is the war that we're seeing worldwide, political and commercial and everything. Why are we here? And what is our vision now that we as animals succeeded, and we can no longer need to hide in shelters and search for food? Now we need to find a higher purpose. And I think this is the actual war that we see outside and in the commercial space as well. If it's not about money anymore, why are we creating new companies? What is the need for a new startup, if not values and community and helping people, achieve love and progress?
Hey bro, I'm just trolling is something that will not just challenge your perspective, but also touch your heart and soul. It's a book that defies convention, blending art and literature into a thought-provoking masterpiece. A reflective piece of provocative art that tackles societal constructs from angles you've never considered. Hey bro, I'm just trolling delves into the very essence of our existence. It questions the technology that surrounds us, challenges our notions of beauty, stares unflinchingly into the eyes of death, and questions the boundaries of freedom. It scrutinized the educational system that molds our very future. This book is a journey, an exploration of shared human experience, and it's a work of art that refuses to be confined by tradition. It's a canvas painted with words, a melody of thought, and a testament to the power of creativity in a world dominated by algorithms and data. Visit moonboycapitalventures.com and get your hands on Hey Bro, I'm Just Trolling today. It's not just a book, it's a movement. Now let's jump back into the show.
When you look at the bottom up approach, why do you think, because you mentioned this a little bit earlier during the pod about this bottom up approach, and I find it very fascinating as to why do you think projects aren't implementing that more? Why aren't they looking at the most actively engaged within the community, the one that's giving so much energy, love, attention, inspiration to the community? Why aren't they trying to get that homegrown community member and turn them into that CMO, or CMO as a service, as you like to call it, or what is the reasoning, do you think, behind that, or do you think that's where we're going to be trending in the future?
I'm positive that that's where we're going. I think the way we looked at things wasn't clear enough to make the change quickly. Like these days, I'm helping brands uh, uh, looking at the community and creating profiles and dividing the audience into segments, and it's a lot of work right now. If you have 10,000 likes on your Facebook page, they're just one bunch of people. If you want to start understanding what are the three different segments you have here, and what are the different, hierarchy, who are the people that want to be the VIP members? Who are the people that here because of the community and the need for belonging? And who are the people that want, the opportunity? And how can you really reach out for each of them and start creating content and you know projects that can really define your audience. So even when you look at HR, the way they work, even the way there is so much focus on, should we get that guy to that position, and not how should we onboard him to that position. And these days you can really see the change. Like we can see the statistics, and we understand that between 10 and 30% of employees leave at the first 3 months. And that is a critical amount of money that being spent and waste. And still, if you would go to most of the businesses, not the enterprises that probably, they have very sophisticated onboarding and are very quickly in the last few years to embed new methods. But most of the HR managers out there are not responsible for the percentage of employees living on the first 3 months. They are not, examining about that themselves. They're not. So I think, but you can still see in the last 5 years the approach is changing. We are more and more businesses are creating a community of employees. We can see more and more campaigns and marketing campaigns that directed to the new employee for the recruitment. So and the DNA of the company. So we see all this is happening, and still it's all operating in the old world. If you need 10 new employees, right now you would go to some recruitment company that have a lot of CVs and walking through LinkedIn. But I think one of the things that I really love about Discord is that it allows you to create like automation rules, right? There's a pool of audience, but if those who repost a post or creating content or whatever the actions that you can define, they can see a new chat opening only for them, and then a new chat and a new chat. And theoretically, you can have your next CMO without even having an interview, because you'll have like your community, and those who created more than 5 pieces of content that the community liked, and those who commented more than whatever and brought new people, going to be in the mid level management, and there they can, I don't know, manage some project. And those who really manage uh, uh, to be up to the next activities needed, there's a new chat, and you can become the CEO of a company in a sense without talking with no one. And when I'm looking at the new generation, the younger generation, it seems that they don't like interviews. They don't like the old way of stuff. And I believe that even people would open the platform like Discord, and they're gonna swipe between jobs uh, as clients, and they would look, let's see what I have at home. I have drums of pearl. I have a refrigerator or whatever, let's see, me as a client that bought a certain NFT or whatever, I can see which opportunities they are offering me as a member of the community. If I write 30 articles this month, I would get some money or whatever. If I do all that, I would become a manager of content writers. And if I'll be a very good one, and then I can work in a few places at once at brand that I'm their client as well. So I think that for us living in this era, it's really hard to look ahead and try to understand how it's going to look like. We're only seeing the change itself. You know, I've seen a video of a recruitment video that the recruiter doesn't know that he's actually talking with an AI avatar. Or I've seen another video of a person, you know, ChatGPT is listening to the questions of the recruiter and writing the answers to the potential employee that's reading it back. So even the way that we recruit people gonna be changed, and it's not about the person that says yes or no, the HR. It's about the community telling you, yeah, we want him to be our CMO. He would lead us to our, because for the last 2 years, every project, he was our leader. He's done stuff. We want him. The same way that I can go to Airbnb and they would see that I'm a good guy. The same way that I'm a seller in Amazon, people would buy from me because, you know, the crowd said that I'm good. So we're going to see that more and more. And it really makes a lot more sense, you know, to work in that way. And that's what I'm trying to lead in the marketing strategy of brands that I work with.
When it comes to the initial funneling, what do you think is the best strategy? Is it paid ads, or is it organic social media marketing? Like how do you view those two strategies for the initial funnel to create the initial community?
So first of all, I would say that every audience we can split into at least 3 different segments and personas. So understanding that there's going to be different user journeys in your audience. There's not one way. And even when you're going to the approach of a community, understand that there's a certain segment that really needs that belonging and really eager to be a part of a community. So for me, each journey should be very, very specific to a segment, to a persona, and not, you know, trying to grab everybody in the same funnel. And so pay-per-click and social platforms are only tactics. They are changing, and sometimes I'm feeling so old. There's TikTok, and probably there's a new platform that I'm not even aware. So that's only the tactics. Should I put more, you know, ads like that, or should I be in that website or another? And should we? So for me, what really important is the strategy. Later on, you can use different experts to understand how to use this platform and another. And I definitely would give a tip that if you're creating the same content all over the web, if every platform, social platform, is the same content, so you're wasting time and money. Each segment and personas should have their own platform, their channels of entering the funnel, and it should be different. So you should definitely use pay-per-click, but it's no longer a valid strategy. It's only here to start the sparkle of something bigger. And it seems that Facebook and Google and Tinder, they want you to keep on searching for the new clients. it's like a bucket with a hole that you're not fixing the hole. You're just trying to pour more water into that bucket. Okay, so you always need them, always. So for me, the bucket is the community, because if I'm advertising to you and you bought my product, what now? I mean, sooner or later, there's going to be another competitor. There's going to be something else. You're going to move on, whatever. If I want you to stay for the next time you need to buy my product or whatever. So my understanding is that it must be a community. It doesn't matter how it looks. It could be in the real world. If I'm selling shoes, I might, put most of my budget on creating small communities of people that running together in real life, and using them as advertisement in certain way. And I don't know, how much should I put my resources on pay-per-click, and on social media and the real world and television and stuff like that. That's tactics. And we live in a digital world, so we're gonna have mistakes, and we're gonna learn. If we're working very, very organized, we're gonna understand that it's not Google, it's Facebook. It's not Facebook. We should do that. We should do more, whatever. But if we don't have the strategy, if we don't know, it's like a person. If you don't know who you are, if you didn't decide where you want to go, it doesn't matter if you have gel on your hair and what's the clothes that you're wearing.
Yeah.
And you see brands are, they're focusing on the logo. And I've been in so many meetings about the logo, but not about the lighthouse and why are we doing what we're doing and what are the values and the walk the talk. And with all due respect to logos, and I do have respect for logos, I would much prefer to buy a template and change it a bit, as long as everybody understand why are we here and what is our lighthouse, and the gap between the product, the opportunity and entertainment and the common goal. When they understand that, okay, we can wait till the scaling and becoming an enterprise and do the old branding again. So that's my answer about that. I think that pay-per-click is becoming less and less relevant.
What are your thoughts on the implementation of the metaverse into marketing strategies?
Well, first of all, I think that we are in a very early stage, okay? And a lot of us were really excited with the metaverse bubble, but I think it's not directed to us. I'm too old. My social platform is two-dimensional picture of me or something like that. Kids 12, 13, 14 years old are getting used to an 3D avatar. And they are really very gaming oriented. So I think that when we're talking about the metaverse, and we can even talk about what is a metaverse, and is it a virtual world? Is it the connection between a lot of virtual worlds? But let's for the sake of this discussion, say that you're actually asking about the experience.
Exactly.
And let's say that today, and it's the experience and the ownership of the experience. Okay, so right now I might have my company PixiDigital might have a Facebook page, and I'm inviting you all that listening to us to get into that page. So you're not going to meet there. It's not a community activity to visit my page. It's just another, and I'm really have borders of what I can and can't do at that place. And basically, I'm just generating content for Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
I'm just doing his job. Um, and so the metaverse in the 3D version allows me to make the experience much more fascinating, much more community, because we can meet there and talk together and see a vision of ourselves. Um, that space have and other advantages, like in the sandbox, Snoop Dogg bought like his own castle. So if my social media page is located next to Snoop Dogg's castle, I just created a real estate, a value of traffic that can come from that, and that's really a different way of thinking, because there's nothing like that in Facebook and Instagram and website. It's my website is not near any other big website that if you go to that you might visit mine. So that's another thing. And the and again, I'm not sure we have a real metaverse right now. There's no even one platform that is completely uh, uh, you know um not centralized. um, but the idea uh, that I can buy, like, what if one day Zuckerberg would say, okay, everybody can buy their own page, and when everybody would buy their own page, that's it. The company, the clients own the company, and in a sense, that's like the NFT as a digital asset is actually, people need to think about, what if I could buy my own page and now do whatever I want in it, because now it's mine. And I think we're going to see that more and more. So for me, I really waiting for that to happen. I think when the people like that right now are 12 years old, when they would be like in 5 years or 10 years, it would be so obvious. Um, but that's another thing we're going to see changing, and it's the same with with platforms, but with products as well. What if I can buy? What if I can become a partner of a platform, of a product? Um, so I think we're going to see more and more. And again, if you consider Roblox and other, even Sandbox, as a metaverse, I'm sure we're going to see it more and more, and we see it rapidly. If you're talking about decentralized 3D space that connecting to other virtual worlds, I think we're going to see it soon enough as an underground fringe that would become stronger and stronger. The same as we look at Bitcoin. Um,
Yeah. Uh, what in regards to the effective go-to-market strategies, do you think the only one that's suitable for Web3 is this sort of funnel and then community building? Is there any other ways in which you think any other strategies that founders could use to be able to get more and more clients for their product?
so I think again, a community is the end of the road. Is that bucket that if you do right, everything would enter there, and in the end of the day, you wouldn't need Facebook and Google anymore for pay per click. But we all know that content is king, um, and I think good content, and is definitely the fundamentals of any marketing strategy. But even before, if we're not going so far, we're just looking to sell our product. I would say the digital space, we must really understand our customers, and I would advise everyone to create a persona profile for each one of our personas. Every audience can be divided into 3 or 4 segments, and every segment has different personas and different ways of looking at the world, and different pains and different ambitions. And once you have a lot of personas on the board, you should pick the right ones, and you should look at yourself and who can you really be valuable for, and look at your competitions and see who are they already addressing. Um, and you need to be very, very specific. I think like the first lesson that we had on first grade is that not everybody gonna love us, and on the second grade we understood that's a good thing, and we shouldn't always try that everybody would love us. I think, although it's like common knowledge, it looks like most of the startups and most of the businesses are waiting for it to show its face rather than decide about it from the beginning. Like, I know who I am, I know who I want my friends to be. Um, and that's the difference between going to the first grade, opening the door and see all those people and try to mix in, rather being a 43 years old entering a room. Now that I know myself and I can detect very quickly who are the people that I find interesting and valuable. So I think we that would be my the biggest tip here is, first of all, know who you are, and don't run to the logo, or the which leather jacket you need to put for the party. Sit with yourself and ask yourself, who am I, and who are the people I want to avoid, and who are the people I want to be close to. And I feel that I've been a mentor in a few accelerator programs, and all of them are using the persona stage, and they're putting like a Shutterstock Jeffrey, blonde Jeffrey that loves dogs or something like that as a profile. And I would ask them, as a criminal profiler, what is an actionable profile? And an actionable profile is one that you can act upon.
Yeah.
It could be very short and it could be very detailed, but it must be something that you can look at it and say, oh, so my messaging is going to be that and that, and I'm going to approach them there and in this way, and whatever. So if you are an entrepreneur, you must have for each segment a few personas, and each persona that you chose must have, like, its own Google Doc filled with every information and every insight you have about those people. And I would also say for the entrepreneurs that reaching investors, do your homework, create a profile of the person, get into every social platform of that person, look at everything that he's done, understand the people, why they are doing what they're doing. Of course, they're doing it to earn money, but once you look on the wider picture, why are people doing what they're doing? Then you can really approach in a much more precise way.
Elad, man, This has been an amazing pod. I think we could go for another hour and a half. It's unfortunate that I have to take off, man. Where can people find you and your project on the internet?
Well, there's PixiDigital.com. That's my website, and they can see like a few of my latest clients, and I'm working on a new marketplace for marketeers called Coolest.Marketing. Coolest.Marketing, and there's going to be really awesome uh, new ideas for marketing, short courses. Right now, there's a few alpha versions, so I'm inviting everybody to jump on the boat early, and soon enough, we would launch this marketplace of marketing courses and mentorship. So stay tuned.
Love it, man. This concludes then this episode of the Mooncast, man, and peace.